yeah, so also later for our viewers, you can also see this conversation later. And of course, maybe later on we can
so also later for our viewers, you can also see this conversation later. And of course, maybe later on we can
so
also later for our viewers, you can also see this conversation later.
Accensione
And of
YouTube.
course, maybe later on we can also later.
Yeah, fantastic. I did it.
Fortunately, I can't help you because I have no idea.
Ich konnte nicht verstehen, ob wir können diese Live-Session weiterführen, wenn es die Seite offen ist im Browser. Aber vom was ich sehe, also wir sind live in YouTube, wir registrieren gerade und maybe for our viewers, if someone of you just let me know in the chat box or in the chat functions if it's working anyhow, I don't know. And yeah, but hopefully it will work. So let me introduce you. Michael Meier. Michael Meier, he's a graphic novelist and also a graphic designer. He also works in a lot of different fields that I can't even remember all of them, but he is a real artist for me. And today we're going to have this conversation with Michael about one of his comics, and it's called Das Inferno. Till now it is published in German and also in French, but there's no English version, isn't it? Or
no. There's no English version.
So right now, if you want to read this version, you have to know one of these two fantastic languages and see what you think about it. And also, what else? Let me thank, first of all, the University of Verona for giving us this opportunity, and also the student group Udu Verona, who has also asked for this conversation during this particular year, which is the anniversary of Dante's death. And so a very important one, and we're very, very proud to have you here and host you, even if it is in this virtual form, but we hope we can have you in person again here in Verona and also at the university. And maybe also
I hope so too.
Yeah, because your work are not so known in the European context, but they are a very specific one also in the German context, let's say, for Dante's reception. And they and we see nowadays how important is Dante's fortune, Dante's reception all over the world, because having this poet as an Italian poet, it's not, it's no more a thing, because Dante is part of our European, let's say, but also very global, worldwide background. We can't even think about having a vision of hell, of purgatory, of paradise without without touching Dante's vision and Dante's works. So, and one for all, the Divine Comedy. And yeah, maybe just 2 words also in Italian for the people who are watching us. Grazie per essere qui e ringraziamo prima di tutto l'Università di Verona che ha contribuito a sostenere quello che è un evento che è stato richiesto dal gruppo studentesco UDU Verona e per cui facciamo ancora vivi complimenti per aver proposto questa iniziativa all'interno dell'amplissimo panorama di opportunità che ci sono all'interno di questo anno speciale del centenario dantesco. Oggi siamo qui con Michael e parleremo del suo lavoro sull'inferno, questa graphic novel o comunque fumetto, e su cui oggi avremo modo di confrontarci e di parlare. Ricordo che chi volesse può comunque, se davvero è funzionante, vi prego di scriverlo nella chat se sta funzionando questa registrazione un po' indifferita con YouTube, e comunque si potrà vedere questa registrazione anche più avanti e funziona tutto. Ottimo, it's working. E dunque si potrà comunque anche fare tutte le domande in italiano, in inglese, auf Deutsch, se volete, perché comunque in caso Michael e io le guarderemo e prenderemo visione di tutto. E quindi grazie per esserci e grazie a chi guarderà questa conversazione anche più avanti nel tempo. So, we're having a conversation, so I don't want to just Maria Pia ha alzato la mano. Let's look at the chat box. Okay, but I don't understand if someone raise his hands, what happened then. But please, if you want to add something to our conversation or ask something, please feel free to just write in the chat, and we're going to discuss about it, because this is actually a conversation. I got to know personally Michael and also her fiancé in Verona, and not only in Germany. Actually, I didn't go to Kassel, where they're living right now, and but I really like to go there and visit you when it is possible, when it will be possible. So just to start warming up this and starting this session, I share with Michael a list of possible questions that are also helpful for all the people that don't know this comic, and just to start presenting your work. And maybe I can also show the front page while you are speaking. So my first question for you is how this passion for art, for your illustration comics started, and or if you want to share with us an anecdote about your also what was your student period as a student and now an artist, a well-known artist.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak about Das Inferno and for inviting me and speak about this 10-year-old book. I mean, it's almost exactly 10 years ago when it was published. And and I have to admit that I have to read it again to get a little bit into the book again. And yeah, so I'm really happy that we are talking about it. And to answer your first question, actually, I've been drawing ever since. I mean, it's one of the first questions I think all illustrators get is how did you get into drawing? And it happened that my mother had a creative passion. She was drawing, she did crafting, and my parents were interested in design and art and architecture in general. So I think it has been around in the family ever since. And actually my brother was, he was drawing a lot. He was drawing industrial design things like creating bicycles and buildings and stuff like that. He didn't become an artist though. So, and I was the one who was drawing fantasy illustrations and little cartoons and stuff like that. But it never occurred to me that it is a real job. It came later in school. I actually wanted to be a veterinarian. But so all my school career was planned for this goal. So that meant that I was that I had biology and chemistry in school and all the heavy stuff. And in the last year of school, I realized that this would make me happy, and that drawing or being an illustrator or designer would make me happy. And I think it started when I realized that I got recognition for my work, that people liked it, that I got feedback. And I also had my first money job in school. That's maybe the anecdote, because there was a student who came to me in the schoolyard one day. I didn't know him. I didn't know why he knew I was drawing, but he came to me, and there was a German fantasy comic book he really liked, and he wanted me to draw the cover of one of the books, to make an original drawing. It was really bad. It was really, really bad. I can show you later. It was really bad. And I think he gave me 10 marks at that time. It was in the 90s, so there was no euro yet, so it was still a mark. So he gave me 10 Deutsche marks for it, and it was my first money job for illustration. I was like, okay, you can get money for it. So,
no, but it is.
I don't know. Maybe that was the one thing that made me choose to become an illustrator, to go to an art school.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting to know someone's background, because so there is this kind of idea of artists who are really well known about what they're going to be and look like in the future, and they have this view, this vision. But also heading to Dante, he was not known at that time for being a poet. He was well known for being a politician, and part of this institution, he got so many problems for his social status, and that's why he also started then working on his masterpiece, the Divine Comedy. So on one hand we have our life, and on the other side we have this artistic life, and sometimes they just follow parallel and go together, but sometimes it doesn't happen. It's not working this way. And so veterinary. You could have been a good vet.
I don't think so. I think I would be involved emotionally too much into the animals, and
We're going to come back to this animals because for all of our public, this is the front page of Das Inferno, but actually also your project didn't start from the very beginning, having this layout, this idea of a book. It was something else. So it is something very peculiar of your work, because other had this global overview already in mind, and actually you really followed Dante's vision, because he also published all the cantos and canticles one by another, and didn't actually release this kind of book
okay.
in one time. He also
okay.
Yeah. So it is also important to understand also the vision that we have about a thing that talking about the Divine Comedy is one of the most famous masterpiece work in literature, in West literature, in European, let's say, but many of us don't know how it happened to be, or how it worked, the background is very opaque, and I really appreciate if you would like to talk about how you came to this idea.
How Dante came together. It was a daily comic strip, actually, for a German newspaper, for the Frankfurter Rundschau. I got a little bit of attention when I received the Best Newcomer Award at the Frankfurter Buchmesse in 2009 for my first comic book, which was an adaptation as well. It was Die Menschenfabrik by Oskar Panizza. It's a short story. It's not very well known, but it's also a very modern story. This one was about a guy who's, the name Die Menschenfabrik, it's in English, it's the People Factory. It's about a guy who accidentally, or who gets lost on a journey, which is where the similarity to Das Inferno as well, and happens to come to a people factory where people or humans or almost human-like creatures are manufactured. And the interesting thing about that story was that it was written so early. It was written still in the 19th century. So it was 60 years before stories like Brave New World or so. I got a little bit attention for this comic book. And the Frankfurter Rundschau, Dr. Christian Schlüter, he was looking for a new artist for their new daily comic strip. Before me, there was a daily comic strip called In the Museum, by Sascha Hommer, and this one was running out, and they were looking for a new artist for a new comic strip. And so he called me, and he offered me this opportunity, and initially wanted to do Der Zauberberg by Thomas Mann. I don't know the English title.
La montagna incantata di Thomas Mann. The magic, no, I don't think
the magic mountain, I don't know.
something like this, but Thomas Mann,
Yeah.
a famous, one of the most famous author and literature writer in German culture, German literature. So.
Yeah, he asked me to do that one, and I've heard of that one, but I never read it before. So I was reading the Zauberberg. It was it's an interesting story, but it's kind of heavy and a little bit it's a little bit bulky. And I was more looking for something entertaining, and the newspaper also wanted me to do something entertaining and to make the people want to read
get involved
every day.
Also.
To keep them hooked. And I didn't see that in Der Zauberberg. I mean, it could definitely work as a comic story, but I wasn't so sure about if it would make a good daily comic strip. And we also had a very tight schedule, so I was very fond of finding an existing story and not making up my own story, because there wasn't enough time for that. And so my partner, Lisa, who is sitting next to me.
Die super Lisa.
She told me of Dante's Inferno. She told me numerous times before that it's a really interesting story and I should definitely read it. But I was always finding an excuse not to read it because I was a little bit afraid to read medieval
stuff.
Yeah. Medieval
stuff. Oh my gosh.
Medieval stuff in verses and so it was like
in verses. Oh my God. Yeah.
But then I said, okay, now I have this job and I have to find a story, and I started to read it, and I was super surprised when I started to read it, because I don't know if it's the German translation, which I heard is a good one. I don't know. And I found it quite easy to read, actually. And I found it quite easy and easy accessible, or an easy story to access. And a very timeless story as well. And so I decided, this one is it. It's a journey, it's a nice journey, and it's something that would work definitely for a daily comic strip, a person you can follow for a year, because it was a contract for 1 year.
Yeah, for a contract.
So, every day for 1 year, except Sundays.
Except. But come on, it's quite a time. So it really, you have to be well prepared. You can't just say, okay, I'll start with this thing, and then, oh my goodness, what's going to happen next? It's
Lisa is laughing. It actually worked like that for me. It was like, okay, let's start this thing. I have no idea where this will go, and I was living from day to day, and sometimes, even now, sometimes when I open the book, when I read it, I'm laughing and I say, "Oh, it's funny. Who did this?"
Yeah, but it really worked. When I also got to start again reading your comic, and I also reread my own thesis because I thought, oh, it's working. It's still working. This kind of adaptation, comic adaptation, it's still great, working. It appeals to reader, but on the other hand, it also makes very grounded links between our reality, even it's 10 years ago, and what's going on nowadays in our life.
I just realized it as well when I read it again. It was like, it still works. I have no idea how I did it, but it still works. And,
you were adopted by Dante, and that's how it works.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and I just realized that actually Lisa was your Beatrice. Definitely. Because also Dante, it took him a little bit of time after Beatrice's death to really realize his poetic, his vision, and then apply all this personal experience to his work that we all know. The masterpiece is the Divine Comedy. Of course, there are others where also Dante grounds his vision of the word, his word. But in the Divine Comedy, this is the thing, and I'm not telling that Das Inferno it's your masterpiece, but on the other hand, you really got to realize this kind of this opus. It's really something classical. You can read it and understand what's going on in our reality, in our world, because let's maybe just talk about what you feel is the connection or your own connection with Dante. So having this kind of parallelism between you and Dante, that it's also possible to see in because you have this page and you are face to face. So what is your impression about Dante, and also what you think you learned from him?
What I learned from Dante. My impression of Dante is that he had, that he has had to be an exceptional person at his time. Very awake observer of things, of the society around him, being a politician and finding the time to write this, and even for such a long time that he stick to this project for, was it more than 30 years?
Not too much, but 10 more or less.
10 more or less, okay.
Yeah.
But just sticking to this project for such a long time, and and that he was a very awake wit, very smart person. That's my impression of who Dante might have been.
Yeah. And I have to read what I wrote before, because otherwise I just go and follow my ideas of the moment and start then over. No. I wanted let's talk about your perspective, or let's say the starting point. So as a German reader and also a German, how do you feel you approached Dante? So, and on the other side, because your Dante is really a peculiar one, so he has this kind of, so you really worked a lot with stereotypes
Yes.
also. And it was funny because you had the possibility to as a at that time I was a student at the Augsburg Universität, die Universität Augsburg in Bayern, and so I really kind of understood the jokes you did in German, and also on one hand, it is something that you wanted to portray. So this kind of blunt German guy who wants to go in the woods and wandern, just wanders all around and see what's happening there. But on the other hand, you also displayed the global vision. So having this kind of attention for global issues like atomic bombs, problems with human and this dualistic vision of humans and machines. And yeah, you it seems to be a German guy, but on the other hand, it's not. So please tell us more.
I'm not so familiar with the German stereotype in other countries, but yeah, I think the Commedia, it is known in Germany as well. Sometimes when I spoke to other people about the book, and most of the times I heard, there's this Divine Comedy. I heard about it, but I never read it. So it's from some people you get the answer that they have no idea what this is. The other half of the people know this book or know that there's this story and know that there's Dante, but have never read it. So I was part of this second group of people because I knew that there was the book, but I never read it. I think what you meant with the international and global aspect of my version of Dante is has something to do with being the comic strip in the newspaper, because it was also, of course, demanded by the newspaper that they wanted to implement things and situations that happened during my production time. So some of the strips I had to use news of that day or of the day before. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, because on one hand it makes it easy to get content and to get ideas for the story, and to have something interesting to implement in this old context of the story, and to look for connections and similarities between our days and Dante's days. But on the other hand, it makes it very, you have a very stiff construct. You know, you don't have much room for fantasy, or if you want to turn Dante in a certain direction, but now something in the world happens that goes in a totally different direction, then you have to follow this path, even if it doesn't make any sense story-wise. So in the beginning, we had I was struggling a little bit with that, and I was talking to the newspaper as well, and we were discussing that, and we were discussing the fact, does it make sense, and how how narrow this path is for me to stick with the news of the day. And so we decided, or I decided, that if something happened that makes sense in the story, I will implement it, no problem. But if something happened that makes no sense at all, then I leave it out, and then I make something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think lots of me was going into the story as well. Things that I was because I had to implement news. I was reading a lot during the production of that, and so some things or some story parts that found their way into the story are snippets of news, but it's also just knowledge I accumulated in that time, because I was reading it, so they weren't actual news, but yeah, some things I just stumbled upon, or things that happened to me on that day or days before or in my life before. So some of the conversations are conversations that actually happened to me. So yeah, like parts of the conversation with the wolf, that was a conversation I was actually having. So yeah.
Yeah, so we have to now talk about Virgilio. Because as you stated, when I first sent you my first drafts of interviews, you told me about the difficult moment you have while portraying Virgil as a jackal. So and people didn't understand and didn't like your choice at all, or wasn't it?
Yeah, we had.
Can I show the public the Virgil? Let's have some spoilers. Spoiler alert! If you want to have the book, stop watching. And here we have a little first see of what you were talking about on that day. There was a lot going on with Berlusconi and so on in the European Commission.
And actually on the when Dante meets the big woman with all smoke, it was the day when this famous volcano erupted on Iceland. And
that was Scheissvulkane. I do remember that, and I recollect it, and I was just like, it was when Europe was overcrowded by this immense
amount of dust and particles, and all the planes had to stay on ground. And
exactly,
I won't say the name of the volcano because I will definitely pronounce it wrong. So
we let it to the audience to just go discover, learn a new language, do things. So now we are here and we see behind this wenn du Leben willst, and this is the shadow of Virgil.
Yes.
And Nanu is so
he's a jackal. To choose an animal was also a decision, a story-wise decision, because I wanted to have the two protagonists. I wanted to have a little. The story is always more interesting when you have a little bit of conflict between the characters.
The two.
And so I wanted to make an opposition sidekick to Dante. So not a second human, but an animal, and an animal is always fun. have around and to read. And I actually had a discussion with the newspaper, because they got from the first strip on, they got letters from readers and from viewers about the story, how they liked it, how they didn't like it. And there were people in the newspaper who said, like, why is Virgil an animal? Why does he speak? why is a jackal speaking? I was like, oh, okay. Why not? Because it's a comic strip. It's a story, and I chose I chose the jackal because in mythology he is the patron of the dead, like Anubis, who's protecting the graves and the dead, and who's leading them through the underworld. So, for me, it was the obvious choice to go with a jackal.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was interested in having these two partners, this team, the human animal team, and and it also gives more possibilities and more crazy happenings for the storyteller.
It's a thing right now in our daily life, so it's really something interesting for an adaptation to see, really, for Dante to have a conversation with a spirit in the other world was something also interesting in the medieval time, even though it was also already it was already being used in the past literature to have this trip in the underworld and see people from Vates and so on belonging to another culture, another time, and so on. But in our vision, so we have on one hand robots, UFO, and so on. On the other hand, we also have this. We want to have a contact with animals, and we also developed a different attention to nature, to not only human being but also all the beings in our on Earth. So it is really fascinating to have this character portrayed as an animal, and as a animal. Anubis was sacred, was a holy character, and so on. So you also follow this line of diverse cultures that are part of our imaginary. Attention, chat. So we have a very, very long contribution from Martina Tabarelli. So thank you, Martina, for writing. So good evening, Sara and Michael. And thank you for your contribution. I'm actually working on my thesis based on Divine Comedy illustration in comics. Oh, super. For this reason, I would like to ask something to Michael. So Michael,
okay,
have you ever read any other parody of the Divine Comedy, like, for example, the Disney works or the manga realizations of Gonagai? And if so, do you find inspiration in these books? Thank you in advances.
It's a very easy and short answer. No.
Yeah, I could also.
I haven't read any other Inferno version before.
Yeah.
So it was a totally, yeah, fresh start for me. And maybe it's maybe in hindsight it was a good thing that I didn't know, that I had no background with Dante or with the Inferno before, that I haven't read the story, that I didn't read other versions of this text, and just going into the story without any background and seeing it as a fantasy journey, as some guy going through hell and seeing what he doesn't want to become, and seeing as a piece of entertainment, if you like.
Yeah, you wanted to start from a blank page. And then I also, it's one of the questions I also sent to you, because I do remember my list of questions that I sent to all my, I use this pronoun, my graphic novelists or comic writers. And it is something uncommon in a sort of way, because you also, sometimes you struggle to, but maybe it's also a perspective coming from the literary world. We want to read and come si dice? We want to read what others did already, and we want to know if we in a way have something to say. And but as an artist, but also as a researcher right now, it is important your own thoughts and your own views. And if you just are going to put one more stone on this pile of other people telling things, it's also fine, because you are contributing to the mission. But if you are alone and you are working on something different, then it's important to also have this conversation with yourself. So I think that also this kind of style and work schedule and also work practice you followed was important. Then coming to the last project, to this to this book.
I mean, what? Well, maybe I can give the question back to you. That what I find interesting is your interest in how I see Dante and how I see this world. Is it maybe because, or as I remember, Dante is a big thing in school when you're Italian.
Yeah.
So you don't have this blank page, this fresh start for Dante, because you have such a big background of Dante. You don't have this luxury that I had, reading it for the first time and thinking, wow, this is fantastic stuff. So is it maybe that this interest in how do I approach this comes from this huge pile of background? And how many years do you have to do this in school?
So normally you start reading Dante or approaching Dante also in the Mittelschule, and then
how old are you?
And around 10, 11, and then you have 3 years and then you have 5 in gymnasium or in also in technische Schule, so weiter und so fort, BWL, so. You also then read Dante in Gymnasium 3 Jahre, so Inferno, Purgatorio, then Paradiso. Wenn es nicht, so it is almost 1 year or maybe 2 to reach and approach and read Dante in verses and so on. But
so you're starting with the Inferno when you're 10.
You starting having an input about Dante's life, and maybe some you have to in some schools you use the Prosimetron, the Vita Nova, and some very famous, well-known sonnets or part of songs he wrote in this Prosimetron, and then you have to remember them, so memorize them. So you start there, because there are also the melody, the poetry lines and so on. You start having a first impression on literature and metrica and so on. And then you add layers, let's say. So
you're going down circle by circle.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And so it is, it's difficult to find someone who doesn't know Dante, because also Dante is a kind of monumento, is this statue you find everywhere. There is also a Dantestrasse. There is always, not always a Dante statue, but they're very famous. And you have also Dante cities. So, and it's a big thing. It's a big thing. But on the other hand, you also have this problem of not having this pleasure of reading Dante and finding out what you really think about, or just say, okay, I want to read, because for us it is also easier, because most of our contemporary language is based on his work. But it is still difficult because of all this construction they made beside, in front, here and there, and also reminds. So it's always interesting to see another approach, another point of view, another vision on something that it's well known. But you also then understand that you really have a lot to know again and again and again. So it's a kind of eternal reading you can have with Dante, and it is always it's not an easy one, but it's really, for me, I am the one. but for me it's a never-ending love story. I did so many BA theses, master theses in Dante Pop and comics. So Martina, if you want, just send me an email and I'll send my master thesis to you. And also right now performing Dante, so Dante in the performing arts, in the contemporary theater performances and European ground. But then what I find interesting is the contact with people, what people like you, like other artists, create. It's something new. It's not because of Dante that you did this thing. It's because of your vision that in a way relates to Dante, to his vision, to his works. But then it's a work of art, a new kind of work of art that it is given to the audience, to the public. So you have your own Inferno. This is Michael Meier's Inferno, and that's it. I think it's important to recognize this, because then otherwise we are always monumentalizing these poets, this past, and we don't look at the future, at our contemporary artistic word that we have, that it's incredibly various, and incredible. I love it.
I actually knew that there were other versions of the story, but I on purpose I try to not read them, and because I wanted to have my own my very own version of it, and my own vision and depiction of the story, and I didn't want to spoil it with with other versions, and
Okay, let's see if there's chattare. So no one else is writing or typing right now, so I can then
I hope we answered the question properly.
I hope as well. And so coming to this centenary, and just looking back to the work you did, what feelings do you feel, and also how do you think it's going to have a future? Your work,
the book, do you mean the book, what the future the future of the book, or
or okay, Martina says yes.
Okay. You're welcome. I mean, you wanted to know
what has changed in all these years, and if do you see any other possibilities in the future? I don't know if also someone just asked you do you want to go further, do other things related to Dante, or just no, stop it?
I mean, for me, it's a really old project. It's my second or the second comic book I ever did, and I only did 2 so far. So it was also my last comic book project, and it was lots of fun. And the things I would change is, I was thinking a bit about what I would like to change earlier today. First of all, my way of drawing changed a lot in 10 years. So when I look at it, for me, it's not that that I don't like it anymore. It's I have a different approach, a different visual approach, I hope. So first of all, I was thinking I would like to redraw the whole thing, but this is not possible and ridiculous, and I definitely shouldn't do it, because it's a child of its time. The book was done in, or the comic strip was done 2010 and 2011, so it's totally fine in those, back in those days. And there will be a reprint. It will come out this year, later this year, or not so late actually, I think in August. and I will change some of the punchlines. When I read it now, some of them seem a bit bulky, or when I think, they could be more on point, they could be funnier if I would change the phrases a little bit. And so minor changes, I won't redraw anything, because it shall stand in that state, but text-wise I will make little changes.
Mm-hmm.
And for the future, I don't have any attempts to go further with this thing. What I sometimes thought what I would maybe like to try is to read it, to make a public reading, or to make some kind of comic readings are a little bit different than just book readings, because you have the opportunity to show the images, to add sound and stuff like that, and maybe experimenting with that. So we will see what will come out with a reprint of the book, because they already asked me if could I make a reading or stuff like that, and we will see. Maybe we will do stuff like that, but I don't think that I would draw the other parts, for example, of the Divine Comedy, the Purgatory, and because I was more interested in the Hell, actually. So yeah, I think it stands for itself, and I will keep it that way, and some minor changes, but nothing big planned, like doing a second book or using the same characters. So I don't know, even if I like Virgil very much.
No, Virgil is super, super duper. Yeah, I really loved him, because it's also really a very that kind of not the kind of German humor. I was it's that kind of humor I loved, and it's so funny. I don't also understand how the French, because I told you the French translation was not so hadn't been that appreciated in that period, and I don't understand if the problem is why some jokes just work in the
the German context.
I don't know.
I was speaking about the French version with a French student. His name is Paul Bittner. He wrote me to answer some of his questions about the Inferno, and I never had contact with the French translator of the book, so I don't know what they changed. And during the conversation with Paul, it came out that they actually did change some things.
I do think so. I do think so, because otherwise,
so I have no idea
what
they made out of the book, and I don't think that it sold so well in France. So I don't know. So maybe it's a totally different book in France. But it's also sold out like the German version.
It's like what they say when you have to prepare a research abstract or something like this at the university, and they tell you you have at a point to metaphorically kill your babies. You have to be the one who is prepared to get feedbacks, to get also a very, very specific list of points. No, you have to change this, don't say it, do something else, and so on. So I totally agree with you. It's important also to know that a translation can be definitely something else from the starting point, and people have to read it in German. It's a good opportunity to know German.
Very, very difficult language, and some people would disagree, but yes.
Some people will disagree, totally disagree. There's a chat, attention. Sorry to found some allora, this is a very important question. Allora, have you ever found some difficulties illustrating part of the poem, like an episode that you wanted to draw and adapt to a modern context, but really struggled you? And then there is a thank you for me, but I thank you, Martina, and I'm happy to know about your work. I want to read it, definitely. So there's a part you struggle with the text and problems, so on.
As I recall, I don't think that I had a particular part of the story I was struggling with. I think in general, I had no problem with the characters. I was quite sure about them, how they look and how they behave. It was more that I was struggling with the surrounding, how hell looked like. And because when you read Dante, it's such a crazy vision what he was coming up with. To put Dante's crazy vision into something that's still understandable and that is enjoyable to follow, even if you're in hell. So I was, when I said earlier that I didn't want to spoil my view on the Inferno, now I remember it's not exactly true, because I was looking at the Inferno drawings of Goya, and because I was struggling with the world and with the surroundings, and I really loved those drawings, and I tried to get some inspiration, or just to get a hold of how hell looked like. So that was one thing I was struggling with in general, how the surrounding looked. And I became, now I remember that I became more and more nervous when I coming to the end of the story, to what the center of hell looked like, how Satan looked like. And that was a little bit exciting for me, because it came very late in the construction, or in the production, that I had an idea how this would look like. But lots of the things and the stuff came up to me spontaneously, and
it's sometimes Dante, it's a verse also, part of the Divine Comedy, but man spricht of visibil parlare. So
I'm totally sorry. I said Goya. I meant Doré.
Yeah, I was going to.
I was.
Because it's the most famous illustrator of Dante's Divine Comedy, Gustave Doré, and the other are important as well. But let's say one of the famous and well recognized of illustration of Dante's poem is are the one portrayed by Gustave Doré and engraved by Gustave Doré in the 18th 19th century. 1852, something like this, giving some data.
I have to admit, I don't know.
Like no, but it is well known, this visibil parlare. So what it is written in the text just pops up like a multimedia thing to your mind. So it's written to give you the impression of what he wanted to describe, to portray. And also character are so well characterized then it is really difficult to not remember them, because also the fact was that you were supposed to remember the comedy, not to read it again and again and again, but to remember it. So it is, I think that also it is difficult for us to recollect, because we are now part of this visual context, but a very different one. We just click a link and we see a picture. For them, they had to click an internal link, let's say, and it was just another type of memory of hard disk. They were educated to do so. So it's like this, but it is fascinating. Maybe
I'm just curious, are there people who can remember the whole thing?
Actually, yeah. Because I can tell you there is lectura dantis, which is the terminology we used to see reading Dante out loud, and public readings, and it is a very typical form of Dante's adaptation in the theatrical form. Very well-known and famous actors also do read Dante and use it also as a practice to improve their dizione. But right now there's an actor who's going to who worked hard, almost 5-6 years, to remember the whole comedy, so 100 cantos.
Yes.
And be ready to just start from the beginning of Inferno and then end with the 33rd canto of Paradise. Remember all the verses, all the passages. Is overwhelming, and I just go.
Do you know how long it would take to?
It will take about for him to just do a night and then another and then another. Almost, it's he's going to do this in Rome, and it takes about almost a month. But let's say if you want to start reading the whole comedy and read the whole comedy in a row, then it will take you a few days.
A few days. Okay.
Yeah, maybe a week, but no more. Yeah, because in an hour, you read about 2 or 3 cantos.
Okay.
In an hour. So reading it non-stop, it won't take too long. Yeah, but it's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But they actually also did this no longer than almost 10 years, also here in Verona. It was Professor Maria Allegri who first did this in Verona at the theater nearby the University of Verona. And then Lecture Dantis, and also these eternal readings for example, Ravenna is doing eternal readings. They decided to read again and again, every and each day, one canto, every day, all the years, just to celebrate Dante. So it's this kind of thing. So it's really interesting to see what's going on, because for someone like me, it's something that really makes me think we need art. We need and want good art to be, and to then be part of our life, and we have to also create space for new art to be created by people who do this, because I think you also came to this artwork coming from your background, who was already a very good one. There are people who think, don't do this, and but there are other people who says, okay, an artist is someone who do this kind of things, but the hard work, the practice, all the amounts of the hours you do a thing, an exercise over and over and over again, this makes you an artist. Not only the things that you have a talent, you are talented, and that's it. It's something.
I think there are, I also know some artists who don't practice so much, but because there are always people who have talent and who are able to just let it come from nowhere.
But then they're just, they're so little people like this, and on the contrary, there are a lot of people who work hard to do then good work, and that's also a kind of message. So we have created this conversation for students and also people who study hard and then achieve their how it is, determination, their goal, and so on. And it's how it goes for every work. You have to just do your thing. Nothing comes from nothing.
No, that's right.
Allora,
I don't know. For, somehow with the Inferno, it's Lisa once said to me that she doesn't know how I did it, because it turned out to be a book in the end, and that all of that the whole thing made sense, and it's maybe it was because it was a it was already a good text, that it was already a good story, and it was, for me, it was very easy to follow in this. So the story somehow spoke to me, and maybe it's because it's using storylines or we are all familiar with, and characters we are familiar with, and it's a universal thing.
Yeah.
And so it was for an artist, it's a very easy read, or it's a very interesting text to work with. And so many artists did work with it and made fantastic illustrations and or comics, or I think there's even a video game about it.
Yeah. There is the EA Dante's Inferno. Wow, I have, when I say it is a thing, I when I told my friends I was going to do a master thesis about Dante pop, Dante in the pop culture, Dante in comics, they just stare at me and say, "The one of Dante's Inferno?" Yes. That one. Now from the game, the one. Yeah, you got it. But yeah, it's so for someone who works and studies at the academia, it's kind of blasphemy for some of them, but on the common people do know Dante also from this other and alternative ways of knowing him, and it's intriguing, and from my point of view, it's really intriguing.
And I think there must have been a reason for Dante to write it in Italian as well, and not in Latin, to have a wider audience, to let all people understand it, and to read it or to hear it. Not only to make it accessible for a small elite, but to a wide audience. And so I don't think that it's blasphemy if you are working with the text as an artist. And this was also approach for me because it was also a job for a newspaper, but to make it accessible for most of the readers, to have fun with it, and because I in the past I also heard lots of people say that they didn't read Dante, and which was my first encounter with Dante as well, that I didn't want to read it because I was afraid of the story. I was afraid of the text, of the language that I might expect, or that might await me. And I wanted to take away that fear, and that because it's such an old text and it's such a big thing, don't be afraid of it, and to make it accessible, like I said before, make it accessible, and to show people it's just a text, it's a story. It's you can build up a scientific research around it, for every story, but you can also just enjoy it and pull something out of it for yourself.
That's exactly
to maybe better understand the world and your life. And so that was my approach to make it fun.
Yeah, I think it was definitely Dante's purpose, working on hell, just saying, hey, pay attention, you're not going to do these things, or otherwise you're going to fall down in the hell. So it's funny, but think about it, please. Act well. Do things.
Because I also had the intention when I read it that I even found passages of the original text funny as well. When he was dealing with some of his political enemies and showing them in hell, and so I was like, oh, this is still today. It's actually funny.
We do this kind of things. Enemies, envy, bad decisions, good decisions. Yeah, and also Dario tells us that there is also the Magnum limited edition of Dante's Inferno. Right now, there is this limited edition of the video game, and
okay.
incredible. But just think about it. You have to see this kind of image. And I think that because on one hand is to make an artwork, an adaptation accessible. On the other hand, there is also the hard work to think about something new. And you did something like this. It's not only accessible, it also adds a view, your own view, and it's really easy to follow during this journey through hell, because also we see a lot of inputs coming from our reality. We see Star Wars, we see also your interest in music, and as many could start singing Highway to Hell and so on. So it's really,
but maybe it's just like it just shows how my brain works. So
yeah, but I think maybe what I can show you, maybe it's one of my what I loved, not this even if it's really good, but I found genius, just pure genius, the part when you head to limbo, and you really did something that I found wow, incredible, because you add the layer of another way to design and to draw. You started drawing like kids, and also writing down the bubbles like kids does. And so it's incredible, because it is it, and here the Lego all over the world, and it's because you added more than what you because some people think about, okay, it is an adaptation, so you use the work of Dante and adapted his message to your own vision. Okay, nice, but it's it's too simple to think to just think about this. You really added something more, and you worked. And this is a really simple example for me to show how it works with your own tools, with your own specificity, because you are an artist and you portrayed limbo with kids, these problematic passages and so on, by adding this new version of yourself. And it's just like genius. I found this this page genius. And no, Shade, I misunderstood Dario, And he was talking about the marketing promotion and the marketing use of Dante in all the way possible. And right now there is a limited edition in different months from Algida. It is in German. Yeah, it's not Algida, because we have also Magnum here. We have the logo.
So they're making an ice cream and Dante.
Yeah, they made Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso as an ice cream to do. Yeah, but they did crazy things. They did the Werbung for Italian. Also, how are they called? Telephonic firmas. Yeah, they used the Dante in every way possible. A friend of us just sent what his mama sent her, and it's this kind of biscuits having Dante on the telling that they are delicious because they are divinely delicious.
Okay.
And very yeah, I told you there is a lot going on. Something it's really something artistic, something is just marketing or using a simple layer. And yes, and here we can see the two characters staring at us as a reader, and for a reader to be looked and to be seen from the text, it's always something. Because also Dante does this. He asks us to think about things. He addressed the reader, and yeah, you did it. You did it. You definitely did it in your own way. It's magical. Okay. It's an hour and almost 40 minutes that we are talking about our things. So maybe I just we can start wrapping up, and also asking once again if there is someone in the public or in our viewers who want to ask you some questions, because it's easy to ask me things. I do speak a lot, so I have to mute myself. I can mute myself in a very physical way. Look, I can do it. Yeah.
Someone's asking.
I don't know.
Maybe I can. I would like to add something to the limbus thing.
Yeah.
It's what I found interesting about the story, or that I didn't come up with my own story, but having the Inferno is I always, because I'm not mainly working as a comic artist, I'm an editorial illustrator, and I mainly see the work of an illustrator as a problem solver. You get a specific topic, and you have to visualize this to tell other people what the context you were given, what it is about. You're a communicator, and I found that very interesting in the Inferno. With the Inferno, that I had this very big task, and when you have this big task, there are certain problems popping up, especially when you don't know the whole text. I mean, I read it. The whole Inferno before I started the project, but it's totally different when you're adapting it to a comic story. Then certain problems come up, like the limbus, where you have children in hell, and you have to show that in a newspaper and or you want to show it in a newspaper, and you chose the path of doing it in an entertaining way. And now you have children in hell. How do you do that entertaining? So I chose not to show the children, but to find another way around. Do you understand what I mean? So you're always like navigating through
this problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
You're navigating a ship through icebergs, and so you always have to come up with a solution of the next problem that waits behind the next corner. So, but that was very, very, very interesting and fun for me too. It's like a big quiz, like a big mind game you're playing with.
And
so that's how this children version happened. I still like it as well.
Yeah, it's just incredible, because for those of you who don't understand German, there are also it could be used in a very linguistic class of linguistics at the university, or even for teachers, to understand what happens when you are a child and you are learning your own language, and you do errors, you do mistakes with your own language. And it's and it is so incredible, because for someone who knows German language, it is really enjoyable. But on as you said, it is in a specific context. So if you know in which passage this thing is set, you understand the problem and how you got to solve this problem using your own art tools, because also Dante has this problem and then turns to the poets, but you stayed there, decided to give space, and it is a really great amount of space to this passage, because to see it, how was that? You had one line per day. Almost one line per day. So to follow the passage and stare at it, because here we have the vates and so on, but you have one page for each of them. So it's a one page.
Yeah, and if you do it like that, you and because I had to implement the news of the days, I couldn't produce so far away in advance. So I couldn't have produced it in like 2 weeks in advance, because it would have been difficult to implement then what happened in the world. So sometimes I was just, or most of the days, I was just starting the day with coming up with the next daily strip and deliver it by 3 o'clock, by 3 p.m.
In that period,
so I had no idea what I mean. I had the story, I knew what was happening, but I had no idea what it would turn out like.
Each and every day to work on a different passage, or just decide what is going to be the next step. It's really
and the only thing I had was, okay, I have the text from Dante, this is fine, so I'm fine with that. First problem solved. But then I had to have something by 3 p.m. whatever it is.
Whatever,
something done
whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, whatever it is, there must be a strip at 3 p.m.
Struggling. Really struggling. Okay. Okay, I see that also my father is calling me, so it's about time to stop. But yeah, maybe one more question that it's something maybe you want to just yeah, think about it, and yeah, I read it. What do you want to say to young artists and illustrators that you would have told you when you were younger?
Yes, I have. I made something. Let me see if I can. How does it work that I can share my screen?
I have to stop. Then
Okay.
you can share your screen.
Okay, let me see.
Is it working? Or do I have to allow you?
Let me see. No, that's not.
No.
Ah, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Okay.
There it is.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's
it
working.
is. Oh no, this is cool.
Okay, so I have 6 lessons. I would have been happy to know earlier. So being an illustrator is a job. So I think it's important to get something, to get a hobby, to get something else, to because it can be very unhealthy to just yeah, to keep your mind busy with your job. I mean, it's drawing and illustrating is nice, and for lots of people it's more seen as a hobby and not as a real job. It's still difficult to be, when you're a professional illustrator, to communicate it to clients that this is a real thing, this is a job, and this is not something, this is not just a hobby or fun thing I'm doing. So it's healthy to get out and to do something else, to refreshen your brain, and yeah, to get new ideas, and to calm down and just do something else, and then get back with fresh with a fresh brain back to work. And so this was something that was important for me, and that helped me a lot to do something else in between. The second thing was vouch for your work, because, as I said before, it's not a hobby, it's a job, and your time has value. And that it means just because you just finished art school and you want to do jobs, do everything for the less money possible. So you see, the dogs are groaning. Because you studied it, you worked for it for years, and it is a real profession, and yeah, that your time is worth it, and time is money, and that you have to pay your bills. And so keep your head high and say, this is my work, and I'm not doing everything for money, and this is how I draw, this is how it looks, this is how my view on the world looks like, and you can take it, or you can ask someone else, or we can find a solution where we are both happy. Lesson number 3: create a network. Meet other people, go to festivals and go to readings and meet people, but don't stay in your bubble. Don't surround yourself only with artists, with other artists. It's totally fine for certain problems or for certain questions you have, but it's also important to meet other people, to get other inputs, to see the problems of people who are not artists, or communicate your
They are also communicating.
Yeah, they're also communicating, or communicate your problems to other people who are not artists, to better understand life and work of artists. And because a network, a diverse network, can help you in difficult times, or can help you in general to because they can provide you with jobs, with opportunities, with new directions, and yeah, keep you open to the world. Number 4 is pace yourself, because it's a very long way. So when you are from the start, when you're starting to have the idea of becoming a professional artist, to actually making money and make a living of it, it's a very long way, and it's can be very dire, and you have to make a few cuts. And but if you keep on the track, and if you say to yourself, that is the thing that I want to do, that is the job I want to do, then someday it will turn out. Number 5 is play. Experiment with what you are doing, experiment with new techniques, with collaborate with other people, with other professions, and play around with your style, and try something completely new, and to see where it goes, where it leads, and because it will lead you to new paths and new interests, and it's always a benefit. And number 6 is make decisions. And sometimes you feel like when you see your work, and there we are coming back to the Inferno, it was made 10 years ago. Of course, you always think it could have been better. It's the work, the piece you're doing. I could have been drawn better. I could have spent more time with it. It's always best to say it's in the state. It's the best what I could do at that time, and keep it that way, and learn from it and make it better in the next project or next time. So don't keep yourself busy with trying to perfect yourself. Make decisions. I make it, make the hair like that, or draw the nose as long as this, and don't fiddle around, and just make the decision. The decision, maybe it's not the best decision, maybe it's even a wrong decision, but make it, and then learn from it and make it better the next time. And if you stumble, make it part of your dance. So even if it's a wrong decision, it's the decision you took, and it's the decision of that time, and part of the dance. So those are the 6 lessons I would give to aspiring illustrators.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Really, thank you for this amazing gift, because I think that, for me, it's always incredible to see your works. And please just also write down in the chat your Insta account, so that if people are interested in seeing your and following you, it's easier by Instagram. And but thank you, because I really think that this is not just about Dante, but also it's about your work, what you did, and what you are meant to do in the future. So it's really important to give space to this new generation of artists, and also new artists to come and confront with you, and maybe just have a dialogue, or I don't know. And really, really thank you for participating today. And
thank you so much. It actually was the longest conversation with
definitely also for me. We can do it, but never again. If it was in presence, we would have an aperitivo dantesco, an aperitif. And but next time we will do less
time in person,
more aperitif.
Yeah.
No, thank you also, Lisa, for
thank you very much. And it's actually, I really appreciate that through this way I got the chance to reread the book and to deal with the whole project again. And for me it's interesting to go back 10 years. And
do I have a problem with my video?
No, I was seeing you, but you were stuck in between.
I was stuck.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Sorry. But
okay, so
but the line functioned a lot. Even it is a rainy day in Verona, and it is really a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it on your last videos what happens when it rains in Verona.
Oh man, no. Okay, so have a really good evening, a pleasant evening.
You too.
I wish you a pleasant evening. And thank you for all our also audience to stay the whole conversation and participated. Thank you very much. We really appreciated it. And please, let's keep in touch. If you want to write Michael, then find him in Instagram. And here he is sharing his ID. And also, if you want to contact me, please send me an email, Sara Fontana @univr.it. Sara Fontana, how it is, .ne. How it is this chiocciola? Oh my goodness. About it's easy. Just find me in the Facebook, wherever, and you found me, and I will reply as soon as possible, if I can, because it's always difficult. And really, really thank you again for being here. And let's thank one more time again the University of Verona for letting us do this conversation, and also UDU Verona for giving us this opportunity. And good night, everybody. Good evening, everybody. And enjoy your meal, because we are Italian and we are about to eat.
We too.
We do.
We spend too much time in Italy.
Meet again in Verona. We have to meet again at Garda Lake.
Definitely, we will.
Thank you. Danke sehr für diese Konversation. Bitte. Tschüssi. Und take care. Take good care.
Yeah, you too. Be well.
Un bacio.